Choose Your Energy podcast. My name is Lange and I'm your host and energy expert. It has been a while since I created a podcast episode about the topic of burnout. So I feel like I want to get back to talk more about burnout here on the podcast. For us to be able to heal from burnout, we first of all need to realize that we're burnt out. Makes sense, right? So today I'm going to share a bit more about how I felt before I even realized that I was burnt out. So stay tuned. So why do I want to talk about what my life looked like before I realized that I was burned out? I want to help you understand what burnout can look like so you know what to look out for in yourself. Maybe you have a suspicion that you might be burned out already, and listening to my story might help you in this process of realization. So let me share with you today how it was for me, and maybe that resonates with you too. In the year before I accepted that I was burned out, I focused little on looking after my body, my health, my friendships, or my relationship. I believed that all of my energy needed to be spent on the job and my career. In my head, it made sense that for me to be happy again one day means to work harder, be more efficient, get better results for my employer. And don't get me wrong, this was in a nutshell my attitude for most of my career years, not just the last year or years. I see now that I work myself into my burnout for most of my professional career. I did not realize that while I gave more and more of my energy into my work, I started to become less effective and my productivity actually went downhill. And these constant feelings of frustration and sadness and hopelessness took more and more over and turned me into someone who procrastinated a lot. I pushed tasks around to avoid them, and I sat for hours just pitying myself for how stressed and overwhelmed I felt all the time. That's when the crying started. Those overwhelming and paralyzing feelings just got too much for me. And I had to let them out by crying silently in front of my laptop. And I did not question if that might be unhealthy, but I thought that better times would come around at some point. It had to, right? I always told myself that an easier time in my role will come, an easier time in my career will come. It's just another few months and then this project is over and I have some time to breathe and actually recover. But that time never came for me. I actually never let it happen. I just kept pushing. I kept taking on tasks and more projects. Unconsciously, I kept probably creating situations that needed to be fixed. And of course, they needed to be fixed just by me and not by somebody else. Do you see where I went wrong there? I never felt like I was even allowed to feel the way I felt. How can I be burned out? I don't have a big family or kids to look after. I don't have personal challenges in my life. I just have a busy and demanding job. I believe that this is for sure not enough to be burned out. So other people have more responsibilities and problems in their life and they are not burned out. Well, now I know that they might well be burned out, but we are not openly talking about it, right? So like me, always hiding behind a mask of toughness and smiles and jokes. Given that recent studies show that more than 70% of professionals feel burnt out or have felt burnt out before, means there must have been a few around me that were actually burnt out, like me. But nobody talks about it. The last few months before I pulled that ripcord, I was in a daze of just working and hating it. When I wasn't working, I would distract myself to not face the truth that something was just not right. Deep inside of me, I already knew that I cannot keep going like that, but I was still not ready to accept it yet. Instead, what did I do? I piled on even more work by creating my own business. That kept me busy during all the hours I was not supposed to work, like the weekends, pushing myself even more, just in some new way. And mentally, I was really not in a good place. I was short tempered, I was moody, and every little thing felt like it was a disaster, like somebody was out to get me. I was just not dealing very well with any kind of demands or challenges, and that downward spiral just kept going and going. I thought building my own business and focusing in my business on self development and spiritual topics would balance out the stress and pressure I created for myself in my corporate job. Yeah, I know, crazy idea. I just didn't understand back then that you cannot balance out burnout. But I did not accept that I was burnt out for quite a while. I told myself that I was just not doing a good enough job. I told myself to get out of this state once and for all and just fix it. I did not even understand truly what needed fixing. I just knew that I felt horrible and that living life this way was just not fun. And something had to change. And until I finally accepted my burnout, I thought that I just had to get over this phase and move on. When I describe my burnout now, I use phrases like not being able to cope, not having the right boundaries, focusing too much on work and achieving my next goal and not looking after myself, right? Creating some kind of balance. But back then, I would not accept any of that. I was easily irritated just by little things, even. I was frustrated with myself, and I could get upset quite quickly with others as well. Looking back at it, I was hardly ever in a state of being content or happy with myself or my life. There was always something to be irritated about, to be angry or upset about. But was I ever aware of what was happening to me or what I was doing to myself? No. I often felt frustrated, annoyed, overwhelmed, and helpless. I remember thinking many times that I should just be able to get myself out of that funk. Yeah, that's exactly it. I called it being stuck in a funk. As if this is just a moody phase and somehow I just need to get myself out of it. I achieved so much in my life and my career, so why could I not deal with this? Why was I not able to turn my life around and be just happy again? As if it is that easy. I felt angry with myself, unable to just flip that switch and decide to be better from now on. In my head, either everyone else figured out how to flip that switch or I'm doing something completely wrong in my life. I wondered why nobody else was feeling like I was feeling. And I tried many, many times to make changes in my life in a way to get over these feelings, but it never helped. It was just like a band-aid on a much deeper wound. And all these little interventions never fixed it. And of course, I never accepted to take the foot off the gas in my career and my working hours. That was never up for discussion. So whatever I tried, I always slipped back into how I felt before. And every time I failed, I was even angrier with myself. And because I did not want to look inside of me, I kept finding issues outside of me, in the physical world, around me, in my environment. I would get angry about my job, about the people around me not doing a good enough job, my boss, my employer, and so on. It is quite common these days that more and more people end up with burnout because we are all in that same hamster wheel telling ourselves that this is how it has to be. It is about time we speak openly about burnout and start to inform ourselves and our loved ones so this does not become our new way of being. Burnout is unfortunately a very real thing. And so common nowadays. And the sad thing is that it does not only make you feel chronically stressed at work, but it will spill over to your personal life too, making you feel exhausted, unmotivated to deal with things outside of work or even enjoy your time away from work. And you might now be asking yourself, so what is the opposite of burnout? What would that look like? And there isn't really an opposite of burnout. You either are burned out or you're not, or you're in the middle and you're going towards burnout. Not being burned out just means that you have a healthy state of mindset and at the same time have a thriving career and a happy personal life. If you're in no danger to be burned out, you have a great balance between stressful times and times where you can recover and feel good and relax. You don't feel constant pressure in all areas of your life, but rather have a positive mindset towards challenges and how you can overcome them. If you're not in danger to be burned out, you will have other interests outside of work, outside of your family responsibilities that bring you joy and peace and harmony. And you can take as well a step back and you can see the bigger picture instead of going down a rabbit hole and calling every problem a disaster. You know, I have gone through so much transformation and change since my burnout. And I'm pretty sure that I will never be properly burned out like that ever again. But that does not mean that I can't slip back into some of these thoughts and behavior patterns that got me there in the first place. So in addition to doing a lot of other things in my life and keep raising this awareness and observation of these patterns, I use as well the Source app to check in daily with my heart. In just 1 minute a day, the Source app measures my nervous system and lets me know if I have to watch my energy resources, if I'm balanced, or if I have great energy and can actually push myself. This for me is a perfect way to check in with my heart and my nervous system on a daily basis, to get signals if I take care of myself in the best way. And it is so important to learn that when you are already burnt out, when you think you're burnt out, or when you just have an inclination that it might happen. I will add you the link to the Source app in the show notes for you to check it out and maybe even sign up if you want to learn more about it. I hope that my story and my openness has given you better insights into burnout. And maybe it has given you insights into how you are feeling about your life and your work-life balance. My mission is to help everyone who feels burnt out to accept it and change it so you can transform and realize how awesome life can truly be. So thank you so much for listening to this episode today. Leave me a rating, a review, or a comment down below if you want to learn more about burnout. And with that, I love you and leave you. Talk soon and bye-bye.